Hi friends, Jen here with Serenity Hill Farmstead. Welcome to our farm and to our porch. And I have really big, exciting news for you guys. If you've been around for a long time, then I think we've been on YouTube now for 7 years, and it's been very on and off. We have not been consistent with it, and we have gone through some brand changes. And I think we used to start off as a homeschooling channel, and as our kids got older, I started moving more into homesteading and sharing more of our lifestyle. And God led us to this beautiful piece of land, and don't mind our wood / scrap pile right here, and led us to start an herb farm. And it is still very much a work in progress, and we are doing more and more every year, and we are doing it without the use of loans. If we can come by grants that aren't restrictive and controlling, then we will utilize those. But there aren't too many of them out there that meet that criteria. So we are just going year by year with the profits of the previous year, pouring it back into the farm for it to grow and just become an amazing thing that we are super excited and blessed and proud of to have and to be on. But we don't live here. We don't live here. And while we are here virtually every day, and we are spending hours here, and we are working this ground and just enjoying it, and it's providing food for us and providing medicine for us and many other people, and providing sources of income, multiple sources of income. We don't live here, and we want to live here. And we've owned this place now, oh my goodness, in the spring, sometime mid-spring, we'll make it 10 years that we have owned this place, and we have never lived on it. But we are out here more than we are anywhere else, and it's time to just be here full time. The big issue with us moving out here has been water. In this section of Northwest Illinois, wells are deep, like 400 plus feet deep. There are sections slightly south that are on Sandpoint wells, and they're significantly cheaper to get put in. You can do them yourself if you know what you're doing, if you have the equipment to. If you got a friend that you know, you can do a Sandpoint well yourself. But that's not something that we can do here because our well is estimated to be 425 feet deep. Yeah. And if you haven't kept up with what that costs, that's about $30,000. And the first time we got an estimate, it was $19,000 pre-COVID. We have no legal issues with moving out here. We can do what we want. But the well has always been the issue. But we have a plan for it now. Now, initially, this cabin was going to be the house. And if you've never seen that video, it was 2 years ago that this cabin got delivered. And we had all the plans. I'm going to stick that playlist down in the description box. There's 4 videos that have started this whole tiny living journey for us. And if you want to get caught up on those and to see kind of where we started and now where we're at now, that'd be a good playlist to watch. It's not too terribly long. 4 videos. You could do 4 videos. So this cabin, we purchased this in 2021. And we had it delivered. We just put a gravel pad down. We created that. We had to berm it because there is not a level spot anywhere on this farm. And we had them place it down right on top of it. We have talked about all the different ways we could finish this out and get our family of 6 into this, what ends up being with the loft space. I think it's 626 or 636. I don't remember. Square feet. If we utilized all the loft space. While we could do that, it would be very difficult to do all the other things we do, like running a business and making all of the soap and herbal things that I make that I keep stocked on the farm store and for farmers market season, and having a place to host farm classes, things like that. It would just be incredibly difficult, and we'd end up having to put another building here. So we decided, let's just utilize this building as the education center, and we'll get another shed that we can convert to a house. And then we'll have our house. We'll have our shed to house education center, and then we'll have our shed to house as our primary residence. Well, then prices went up and inflation got crazy. You all know you're living the same thing that everybody else is. And we got stuck. And finances got tighter, as they do with everybody else when inflation is insane, and we stayed stuck. Well, it's funny how God moves. Got to back up a little bit for a short little story time. So in town, we live right next to an elevator. And if you are not rural, an elevator is basically the grain bin system where big commercial farms, if they don't have their own grain bin dryer storage sections, then they will bring it into these tiny little farm towns, and they will put all of their grain into the elevator system, and the elevator will dry it and will store it, and then it is distributed as it is. So the process of these farms harvesting and bringing everything into town and dumping it into the elevator system creates a lot of dust. And this is not just your normal dust. It's not just dirt that is getting tilled up. It is not just dust from, I don't know, whatever. It is GMO corn that has been sprayed to high heaven, and then dried, and then harvested. And then it comes into town where all of that is getting poured into the elevator system, and all of that GMO Roundup spray dust is now airborne. And that's what we live right next to. So for the 15 years that we have lived in this house, it's just been gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And my asthma is getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm not the only one. It's affecting at least one of my kids. Some years it affects two of them because the second one's asthma is not as bad. But me and my middle son, yeah, our asthma is greatly affected, and we can't go outside once the elevators turn on for the year. We can't go outside without a mask, and we can't, I can't work in the garden anymore for that year. So whatever isn't harvested by that time goes to waste. So it's just like a plethora of problems. You know, it's just compounded problems. It's problem after problem after problem, and that you can only stop so much of that from getting inside your house. I am definitely way sicker on a day-to-day basis than I have been ever. So the air quality is so bad for such a huge chunk of the year that I'm so limited, and I just had enough. So I told my husband this harvest season, I said, that's it. I can't do this anymore. We got to move. And him being the wonderful, supportive husband was like, okay, where are we going? So I mentioned a nearby town. And I said, now this town has no restrictions, and we can have our animals there. We can have the chickens in town. We can have the rabbits in town. We can garden to our heart's content. We can run a small business out of the house. So there are no restrictions. We can do whatever we want, you know, within reason, obviously, but we can do whatever we want with our property. Or we can move to the farm. And both of us, without question, we want to be on the farm. But it's always been a hassle and a hang up. Like in one way or the other, we've never been able to make it work. So I prayed. I said, God, we need to move. We cannot be here anymore. I need to be healthy. I need my family to be healthy. We need to be somewhere where we are 100% safe from these pollutants and these hazards, and where we can more easily live the life that you want us to lead. Because anytime we've looked to move anywhere else, he has very loudly shut that door, very, very clearly. Nope, you're not going there. You stay on this farm. So I said, okay, here's this house. If this is not the property you have for us, please very clearly tell me no. Tell us that we shouldn't be here. So I went online to go get the property, the listing information, to go call our realtor, and it wasn't listed anymore. I said, okay, that's clear. Message received. So I prayed again, and I said, God, if you want us to be on this farm, I need you to tell me how. I need you to give me major discernment here. Like I need crystal clear clarity. How do we do this? And two names popped into my head, and it was a friend of mine that has sold everything and has been living full-time in an RV with her husband and her son for a couple years now, and they're loving it. And another one was a local friend that has a camper already, and is here and local, and I could go look at it, and I could pick her brain. And she she's been learning over the years how to do this full-time thing, and she's been very back and forth with it, but really would just loves the idea of it, and if circumstances were different, would totally do it in a heartbeat. So I called her and I said, okay, you need to tell me all the things. And we had a good long chat, and I went over to her house and I looked through the camper, and I went home and I told my husband, and he's like, yeah, okay, let's do it. So we started looking at campers, and we found immediately, the first time we went to go look seriously, like we're looking for full-time, to be here full-time, living in it 24/7. We found the perfect camper. It was about $20,000 out of our budget though. If it was the spring, we'd be like, okay, let's do it. But going into winter, this is our lean time. And this is not the time to try and purchase something $20,000 out of our budget. It's not the time, not even close. So we passed on that one, unfortunately, but it was perfect. So now we know what we're going after, and we have a plan. And we're doing things here to help increase the income so that we can more comfortably afford the camper that we want. But we are going to be moving out here. We're gonna do it. We're going to move out here this, hopefully spring, latest is summer, because water is still an issue. So we have to have a well, and we have to have a septic so we can just hook up, and it can just be stationary. And we'll build a deck off of it so we have excess, space to spread out. And of course, we have our education center, which is going to be finished and going to be doubling as like education center / like extra commons area for our family to be able to spread out a little bit if people need more separation and space. Something to consider here is we do have special needs kids. So this is not your family will adjust and kids adjust and everybody's resilient and you'll be fine and it'll bring you so much closer together. Yes, all the things. However, when you have special needs children, sensory overwhelm is a major factor. Like so much that it will control the flow of your family and the flow of your day and what's happening. So you have to consider sensory sensitivities. Like people that are overwhelmed need to be able to have a place to be able to go to regulate themselves, and people that are understimulated need to have, they've got the space here, but they need to have opportunities to be able to regulate themselves. And that's why we have a swing in our house. If you've ever seen those videos and we have a swing going from our kitchen to our dining room, that's why. So that serves to help calm and stimulate as needed, along with many, many other tools that we have, sensory tools. Our house is like an occupational therapist's office. So there it is. When I told my husband I was filming this video, he's like, you're filming a video about the RV that we don't have? I said, yeah, I am. Why am I doing this? We are 100% committed to this now. Every other time we have been doing it, it's like, yes, we're going to do it. And then there was a lot of hesitancy, and the things that ended up being the hangups were mostly us. They were mostly us not trusting God, not trusting his plan, the thing that he's been leading us to for years. And my husband has even been saying, yeah, let's just move into a camper. And I've been the one saying, if we do that, there's this. And then I keep seeing this thing saying how, like, when God's leading you something, the how is none of your business. The how is God's business. If he's the one leading you to it, he's making the way for you. He is telling you, this is what I have for you. Have faith in me to be able to go do it. You can do this. So we're just doing it. And anytime I have a doubt, he has no doubts. My husband is just like, yep, we can do it. And he's like, yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, he has no doubts. I have doubts. I am the one that's like, how are we going to do this with six people in a little camper? And what about this? And what about this? And then I think about, I get really sick. When I get sick, I get sick. What if we have like COVID again? And, I got incredibly sick with COVID. I was one of those people that got it super bad. And so was one of my children. So what if that happens again? How am I going to do full-time living and be that sick? Because there's things that you have to do daily to be able to make things work, especially if it's winter. But we're not going to think about that. We have a will, we have the way, and we're going to do it. we're gonna do it. So why am I making this video? What does it have to do with herbalism? Well, it has a lot to do with herbalism because we will be here on our herb farm full time, which means so much more herb content, so much more that I can share in building, because it'll be so much easier to share. So much that we can share in building things up, in creating new things, in harvesting things, in doing on-farm classes for those that are local, for being able to put more virtual classes online for those that want to learn online. There's just so much more opportunity for us to be here, and I'm going to share the process. So I'm thinking right now that once a week I am going to be sharing a process, like the process in this kind of video, because moving from a 1,750 square foot house in town to a camper and this cabin is massive downsizing, like massive downsizing. And I am doing something every day. So now, it being December 4th, I have been well on my way for the last week. I have been purging like you would not believe. And I really need to make a Goodwill run because I have so much stuff that is going out the door that it's hard to open our closet right now because it's just piled up there. So I need to get those off to Goodwill, but I am purging every day. Every single day, I am putting things on the get rid of pile. Get it out of here. So there's so many things that need to happen, and I'm going to kind of share it with you guys. This is not going to become this whole like takeover of everything is just going to be minimizing. That's not what I'm doing. It's going to be one of my videos a week. Maybe I won't have the content one week. Maybe it'll be every other week. I don't know, but I'm going to share the process because I know that that is very interesting for some of you. The process of moving from this in-town, in-town, it's a very, very tiny town, but this in-town property to an out-of-town property and building it up and doing everything from scratch and doing things as mortgage-free as possible and all of that. And I know that's interesting. I love watching that content. So I'm going to share that here. And because I know that a lot of you really enjoy following our story along with the herbal content that I provide, you have more questions and you want to hear more about us and our story. So here it is. We are moving into a camper with our 4 children. So that's it. That's the big news. That is the exciting insanity that is going to be our lives from now on, I guess. Because I know I'm going to have questions about it, I will say real quick, I have no idea how long we're going to be in a camper. If God creates a way for us to build a house right away, great, we'll build a house right away. If God says, stay in this camper a while, and we're in the camper for a few years, then we're in the camper for a few years. That's why we're getting a nice one, so that it's comfortable and we can be in it without being crazy. I would like us to be in there for a year, to only do one winter in there. I don't want to be in there for multiple years, but if that's God's plan, then that's God's plan, and that's okay. We'll adjust. So thank you for joining me for my news, for my crazy news, exciting news. It's nuts, but it's going to be amazing. I know it will be. If you guys have not subscribed yet and you want to follow along with this insane adventure, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get notified. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.